Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this quick training on how to say no to unreasonable expectations without feeling guilty about it. This skill, saying no, learning how to say no with calm confidence, is one of the most important skills for you to learn as a professional Muslim. And it's important for you to know because we are dealing with unreasonable expectations, okay? So before I tell you how to say no, we got to learn why it's important for us to learn how to say no. What unreasonable expectations am I talking about? Where are they coming from? And how do we get to the point where we can say no to them? Okay, so what is the problem that we're dealing with that requires us to learn how to say no? So first thing is we got to identify the problem. Okay, and in order to illustrate the problem, I'm going to tell you a little story. Say you're a mom and you're giving your kids a bath. There's two kids, they're in a bathtub. You step away for 1 second, okay? It's always 1 second. You step away for a second and they are very skilled at getting into trouble and doing things in that 1 second, okay? And so that second that you're gone, the water is flowing, everything is fine, the water's not overflowing. That 1 second that you're gone, they grab the toilet paper and they find a way to tear it into tiny little pieces, get it in the water, and now it disintegrates and it clogs up the drain. Okay, now the drain is all clogged up, no water is coming out. And in that 1 second, it's a very long second, okay? Because moms never step away for longer than a second, right? The water overflows and overflows and overflows and overflows. And then the bathroom starts flooding, okay? So this is the bathroom, it starts flooding, right? And here's the faucet. Okay, so you come in and you see in that 1 second that you were gone, the entire bathroom is flooded and the water is getting to the door and it's about to flood the whole house. Okay, what do you do? What do you do in this instance? Right, the first thing is you're going to yell at your kids. Why are you doing this? Why did you do this? Right, you get towels and you try and keep the water from getting into the house. So you have all your towels here trying to prevent the water from overflowing and flooding the house. So what is the most important step? What is the most important step? The first step that you have to take in order to keep the house from flooding. Okay. The first step that you're going to take is you're going to close this. You're going to close the faucet, turn off the faucet so you can keep the water from overflowing. So you're going to turn it off and then you're going to try and clean up the mess. So why am I telling you this? What is the relevance of this story? Okay, so the bathtub is your plate. Okay, this is your plate of all the things that you have to do. And the faucet, the water that's overflowing, is all the responsibilities, all the expectations from your work, from your family, from your role as a mom, as a wife, as a daughter, all the things that you have to do. Okay, all these expectations are coming from here. Okay, that's the faucet, and it just keeps coming and overflowing your plate. So what's the result, right? What's the impact of all of this? It's overwhelm. Right? When your plate is full and it keeps getting piled on, more things keep getting piled on. What's the result? It's overwhelm, right? Your plate is full, but nobody recognizes it and it just keeps getting piled on, right? All the responsibilities that you have, whether it's at home, at work, in your community, it just keeps getting piled on, right? And so the result is overwhelm, exhaustion, and burnout. So the first step, okay? The same thing with the bathtub. The first step to dealing with being overflooded with responsibilities is to stop the overflow by turning off the faucet. Okay, so does that make sense? So in order to stop the overflow, right, instead of just finding ways to cope and getting towels and just trying to clean up and unplug the sink while it's still overflooding, right? You don't do all of that. You don't just keep piling on towels and doing temporary measures, right? That's one of the things I did, right? I just kept getting more coping mechanisms and just taking on more and more responsibilities. That doesn't help. You have to stop the overflow. So you have to stop the faucet. However, it's not that straightforward, right? You don't have one faucet that you can just turn off and everything, all the responsibilities that are coming at you are suddenly going to go away. It's not that easy. I wish it was that easy. Okay, so what are the different causes of overflow for you as a professional Muslim? There's a lot, but we're going to talk about 3 major ones. Okay, 3 major causes of overflow for you as a professional Muslim woman. So number 1 is home and cultural pressures. You can't fix it unless you name it. Right? You cannot fix it unless you name it. We have cultures that tell us that even if we're working, we're responsible for all the childcare. We're responsible for cooking. We're responsible for cleaning, right? If we can't name it, we can't fix it. All right? Number two is lack of support. Okay. This is both at work and at home, right? You're supposed to be the superwoman and you're supposed to do it all. And so, regardless of whether you work or have responsibilities at home, you're supposed to do it on your own without support. And asking for help, right? Delegating childcare or any other kind of help is seen as a weakness. Okay. We can't fix it unless we name it. And number three is hostile workplaces. We all experience this, right? As Muslim women, as Black women, as Muslim women of color, as immigrants, people with accents, but people with apparent Muslim names, hijabis. We experience hostile workplaces. We experience discrimination and bias and microaggressions. Right? That's a stressor. That's another thing we have to work hard to overcome. These are the sources of burnout. These are the sources of overflow. You have multiple. These are the three major ones. So how easy is it for you to go and turn off the faucet on all the cultural pressures that you're experiencing? How is it for you to address the lack of support? How easy is it for you to single-handedly overcome hostile workplaces? Right? It's really difficult. Right? It's not as easy as turning off the faucet and all the pressures and all the things that keep getting added to your plate are going to go away on their own. Right? So it's multifactorial. Okay, this is what we call multifactorial. Okay, excuse my handwriting. Multifactorial. That means there's multiple things that are contributing to this. It's not a single, this thing happens, therefore this is the effect. Right? It's not a one-to-one. There are multiple things that are causing the overwhelm, that are causing your plate to be overflown. So where do we even begin, right? How do you even deal with this? How do you deal with this complexity of an issue? Before we take on any specific cause, right? Before we tackle, this faucet, we're going to talk about lack of support. We're going to talk about, the huge thing, culture, right? Our cultures, our home, our communities, workplace discrimination, hostile workplaces, those are huge problems, right? Before we do any of that, we have to find another way to stop the overflow. And we do it by controlling what is within our realm of control. What thing do you have control over? That's the first place to start. Okay, there are ways to address all those things, right? But it's not the first step. Okay, so the first step is to put a protective layer over your plate. Okay, this is your full plate. We're going to put a protective layer. You control what happens on your plate. Okay, you have multiple faucets coming and draining things, right? You have multiple faucets, right? But what you can do is you can put a protective shield over your plate and you can decide, no, I'm sorry, I cannot do this. And so one word that will help you put that protective shield over your plate is no. Okay, this is the most important word to put in your vocabulary because it is the one thing that is going to protect you from all this overwhelm, from all these responsibilities. It's unreasonable. Okay, we have to name it so that we can solve it. So no is the single most important word for you to learn as a professional Muslimah. So 3 steps, okay, 3 easy, simple steps to say no with confidence and without feeling guilty. Step number 1 is I want you to ask yourself, before you put on one more thing on your plate, before you take on one more responsibility, okay, I want you to ask yourself this question. By saying yes to this thing, what am I saying no to? What else am I saying no to? By committing this time, this energy, right, to this new thing, to this new project, to this new idea, to this new whatever, right? Before I say yes to it, if I say yes to this, what else am I saying no to? Are you saying no to time with your family? Are you saying no to sleep and rest? You could go take a nap instead of doing that thing that you don't want to do, right? Are you saying no to just having free time for you to go take a walk, right? Or go read a book? What are you saying no to? Are you saying no to time for faith? Are you saying no to go into Jummah prayers, right? What are you saying no to? So before you say yes to anything, ask yourself, if I say yes to this, that means I'm saying no to something else. Okay? That's number 1. Step 2 is to keep it graceful. Okay? There is no reason for you to say no from a place of anger, of frustration. Okay? You don't have to convince other people of your reasons. right? You don't have to feel guilty. The only person it has to make sense to is you. You don't have to over explain. I'm not able to. Start off with, I'm not able to. You can end it there. You can add a few more things if you feel like it. But I want to remind you, no, I'm going to put a period right there. No is a complete sentence. It is a complete sentence. It doesn't need any modifiers. It doesn't need a verb. It doesn't need anything. No, full stop. Okay. If you want to add a little bit of explanation, that's fine, but it's not required. As long as it makes sense to you, as long as what you're saying yes to is something that's important, something that's going to rejuvenate you, something that is going to bring you peace, you don't have to convince anybody else. I promise you. Okay. And step number 3 is to have a go-to response for the common situations that you face. Okay. If you're constantly being asked to do something that you'd rather not do, but you keep getting asked over and over and over and over and over, practice, keep track of those things and learn how to say no. Okay. In the guideline that you just downloaded, there's some scripts that you can follow. I'm not able to because this is not, in alignment with what I'm working on right now. Right? It doesn't fit into my schedule. There's multiple things that you can say, but have a go-to response for the common things that you get asked that are draining you, that you don't want to do anymore. Okay. And the most important thing is to practice, practice, practice. Because what happens is when you initially start saying no, you're not as confident. So people will try and convince you, right? They will try and convince you to, it's just this one time. I promise you, it'll be quick. It'll take, just 5 minutes of your time, right? So people will convince you. And so what happens is your protective shield, things will come through, right? Things will make their way through your protective shield and you will get more things added to your plate. But with more practice, guess what happens? Okay. With more practice, you start filling in these gaps. You start filling in the gaps where you keep saying yes because people keep trying to convince you. So you fill in the gap, and you keep practicing saying no. And before you know it, you have an impenetrable shield, right? Where it's so rock solid and you're so locked in saying no, right? You already say no. You already know how to say no. I was having a conversation with my sister the other day and she's like, Ali, the boundaries that you have set, she's like, I'm frustrated that I can't set them because, things that people ask me, they won't even ask you, right? You'll get to a point where it's don't even ask that person because she's too busy or she doesn't have time for it. Right? You will keep getting asked, but after a while, people will learn. There's a whole nother concept called teaching people how to treat you that's outside the bounds of what we're talking about here. But you can get to a point where people don't even ask you. People will stop putting things on your plate because they know that you're not going to take it. Okay? They know that it's a no from you. Okay? So this is the goal. You get to a point where you practice saying no and you get so comfortable saying no from a calm, confident way that it'll just bounce right off. You have this impenetrable shield, right? And you stop overflowing your plate. Okay. That's the goal. This is how you stop overflow. You don't have control over the faucets right now. Okay. That takes a little bit more work. That takes a little bit more training. But what you have control over right now is your plate and what goes on it. All right. And so what you do is you protect it. You put that lid on there, that impenetrable shield, and you stop adding things to it. So after you stop the overflow, then you can focus on getting things off your plate. Okay. That is the next level thing, right? So you created this impenetrable shield and you've practiced saying no so well that, things will just bounce off. People will ask you and you're like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And you don't feel guilty. You don't feel uncomfortable saying it. You say it with confidence and people will listen and say, okay, yeah, we tried convincing her last time. It's not going to happen. So find somebody else to do it, right? So things are bouncing off. Now, the next thing is your plate is still full, right? Your plate is still full. You're probably doing a lot of things that you would rather not do, right? You'd rather delegate a lot of these things. So the next step is for you to figure out, how do I get things off of my plate, right? I want to keep only the important things on there. How do I take the things that are draining me, the things that are causing me a lot of emotional stress, a lot of physical labor, and I'm not getting anything out of it? So that next step is prioritizing what actually belongs on your plate, trying to figure out all the things that you're doing and how to pick and choose. These are important things, and these are the things that I want to get rid of, right? They're draining me and they're not bringing me anything of use. Okay, so we go over how to do that, how to take that next step. once you've protected what's coming on your plate, the next step of how to take things off of your plate and how to prioritize what actually belongs in your plate, that training is going to be in our Burnout to Balance workshop. If you want to learn how to be a part of that workshop, send me a message on Instagram and I will send you over the information. I hope this training has been helpful to you. If you have to watch this video a few times, if you have to practice that script a few times, please do so. There is nothing that will protect your peace more than when you stop the overflow, when you stop taking on so much responsibility and being overwhelmed. You have the power to do just that with one simple word, and that is learning how to say no with grace and with confidence. All right. Inshallah, I will see you in the workshop. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.